What is up, y'all? Welcome back to day 2 of our Adobe live stream for the week. I hope that you are doing well. My name is Idara Ekpo, and today, again, we are joined by Kohki Yamaguchi as he joins us, to edit cityscapes, landscapes, and portraits in both Lightroom Classic and Photoshop. So, I'm so sorry. I'm all over the place this morning. Kohki, how are you
It's
doing
all
this
right.
morning?
Well, here in Tokyo, Japan, it's rather midnight than morning. So,
Yeah. And
but
here,
yeah, took a power nap and I'm ready to go. So I'm super excited to share my portrait editing process, more so on the color grading side. But yeah, super excited.
really, really excited. And I am here in Phoenix, Arizona, where it is 9:30 and I started my day about an hour ago. So I think my body is waking up while you are trying to go to sleep. So
The opposite.
the opposite. But I hope that y'all are doing well. Whether you are joining us on YouTube or Behance, go ahead and just say what's up in the chat. We would love to see y'all and just let us know where you are joining in from. And before we get started, I want to remind y'all to make sure that you do not miss out on Adobe Express streams right before this stream. You want to make sure that you tune in and learn how to implement the easy to use app into your workflow with Claudie from Print My Soul. So, Kohki, yesterday we had a great time looking at cityscapes and landscapes and all of that great stuff. And today I think we're kind of transitioning into more so portraits. So feel free to just kind of reintroduce yourself to the group, because I'm sure there's new people that weren't here yesterday. And we would love to hear more about who you are, the work you do, and what you have planned for us.
All right, thank you. Yesterday we jumped into editing cityscapes and landscapes, which is one of the few styles of photography that I really love and enjoy shooting. But today we're going to dive into some portraits. But my name is Kohki, and I'm a Tokyo-based content creator, and I do shoot a lot of different kind of styles of photography. So landscape, cityscapes, portraits, architecture, and even lifestyle travel stuff. And yeah, I just kind of cover a lot of grounds because I find a lot of those styles of photography really enjoyable and yeah, just inspiring to do all of them because you learn a lot from each individual style. So yeah, this is my website. I don't have everything here. If I put everything, it's just going to be too cluttered. So I usually just have a few of my favorite photos lined up. So as you can see, this is from a Japan collection, and there's a lot of Japanese vibe going on here that a lot of people really enjoy, because I think Tokyo and Japan in general is one of the most kind of a bucket list for everyone. So
yeah, it's on my bucket list for sure.
Yeah, I don't think people like a week or two is fine, right? And I'm like, nah, that's not enough to explore everything.
How long should, like, so if I was planning to come out, how long should I go out for?
I think just Tokyo alone, you can spend a week and not be satisfied, I think,
Wow.
depending on the season, of course. But yeah, we have yeah, it's like, it's just massive.
Oh,
But yeah, I do.
one day.
Yeah, well, soon, if the borders open up, right? I get that
Yes.
asked a lot. My DMs is like full of, when is it going to open? I'm not the government, like, how am
We
I
can't
supposed
answer
to know?
that for you.
But yeah, this is my portraits. I have 2 pages worth of portraits, but just like a day, like a sunset, kind of soft light during the day photos, but as well as like neons, where it's like more technical in terms of trying to get the lighting. And yeah, I really enjoy shooting portraits. So I'm super excited for editing today's photos. This is my Instagram page, so you can kind of check it out. I usually post a lot of photos, try and keep up to date, and share some reels as well, which is also like I incorporate photos. So yeah, if you guys are interested, please check my Instagram out.
Yes, make sure, and shout out to Sam for always being on top of dropping the website and Instagrams in the chat. So make sure y'all go ahead and go to Kohki's website so you can go and check out more of his work. I know we talked about a little bit about prints. I think you said that you had 2 sets left of prints, and then you also talked about presets. So go ahead and check all of that out, and then hit up his Instagram, give him a follow, show some love. So So
Thank
what do
you.
we have planned for today?
All right, so jumping in straight into Lightroom, we're gonna, of course, edit some portraits, and I do want to kind of start off by editing a like a sunset, like a light, like
Mm,
during the day photo, and try and show you guys my process of skin retouching a little bit, not too in depth,
mm-hmm,
because I don't really go too in depth with skin retouching just because the models and people that I work with, they do have like really nice skin I don't need to
mm-hmm.
really mess with. So I think I'm just fortunate enough to be in that situation, I feel like.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think we can just start by,
let's do it.
should
I'm
we just
excited.
start by like doing the skin retouching, or
Yeah,
is it like,
let's start wherever you want to start. If you are moving towards the screen retouching first, let's start there
I'm just
and
afraid like we're gonna run out of time if I like, I don't know.
I
Okay.
think you'll do. You got it. You got it.
Okay. So one question that I usually get asked a lot is how do I select photos? And it's just whatever you feel like like you like, then you
Mm-hmm.
just send it off to the quick collection, which is here. So you just keep going like this. It's really like if you stay on a single photo for too long, you
Mm-hmm.
just start overthinking things.
Yeah.
So you just go through like this, and um yeah, like, oh, okay, you like, if you like these two sets, just put those two in the quick
Mm-hmm.
collection, and you could do that with like multiple photos, but then it'll show up all in here. Then you
Mm-hmm.
kind of can choose between like the few that you selected. So yeah, that's how I go about selecting a photo.
I like that
um
you said that you don't spend too much time looking at a photo because I've definitely done that where you are going through and you stare at a photo and you like it at first and then you find the one wrong thing and you're like, ah, not that one. And your selection process goes from being like, just really just being should be like, a couple minutes or 10 minutes or so to being like, for me, sometimes 30 minutes an hour. Sometimes just
wow,
looking at a photo.
no,
It's
like,
bad.
really? Oh, well, I
Especially
feel
if I
like,
shoot larger projects, I'm like analyzing each photo and I have to tell myself, like, come on, Yudara, pick something.
yeah, I mean, a larger project, yeah, I can
Mm-hmm.
totally feel that. But this was just, actually, this was like shot so quick. We are just, oh, there's like a flower, let's just
Oh,
shoot it there. And then
wow.
it took maybe 5 minutes. We shot there for 5 minutes and left, and it turned
Oh,
out pretty nice. So
yeah, they're beautiful.
um yeah, I think once you've selected a photo and to start editing, I usually like to just head over to Photoshop and just do a bit of skin retouching and then put it back into Lightroom so that
Mm-hmm.
anything, I don't have to worry about editing the skin after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'll quickly go over how I'll go about editing the skin. I hope it's
Beautiful.
it's not gonna take forever to load.
And
All
if
right.
y'all have any questions for Kohki throughout the live, whether you are on YouTube or Behance, make sure that you just go ahead and drop your questions in the chat so that way we can ask them throughout the live.
Yeah, amazing. I also do want to ask if you guys ever use any of my techniques or like tips, I guess, from the
Mm.
previous live. You can tag me in Instagram, and then I'll check it out.
Yep. And if
So
you
yeah,
missed that live, y'all know that you can catch the recap. You can go back and watch the whole thing, so you
true.
can use those tips. So that's really dope there because we talked a lot about a lot of editing tips. The way you love blue was very
Yeah,
apparent. So make sure y'all go ahead and catch that recap so that way you can utilize those tips in your photos.
yeah. Okay. We kind of want to first duplicate the photo, and then zoom right in. And then what I usually like to do is, instead of using the healing brush or a spot healing brush, all these, like, you can, I
Mm-hmm.
think you can get away with these, like you can just go like
Yeah.
that and you kind of get rid of that part, but not necessarily always. It's not as accurate as using the patch tool, because what the patch tool essentially does is you get a section of the skin, and it kind of like, you can accurately sample it with a
Mm-hmm.
specific area of the skin. So I know it's like tedious, but I usually like doing that. And yeah, I'll just like do this throughout the photo. I don't think I'm gonna skip like the whole entire thing because I just wanted to explain that. This is gonna be more of a color grading tip, so I think we can just skip that part. But in general, that's what I do. We'll come back into Photoshop in the later on, but for now, I just wanted to quickly show you guys how I do the skin retouching. It's nothing crazy, but
it works. It's effective.
okay. Once we have the photos saved and back into Lightroom, it should load. Okay. All right. So I think you just first, if you want to add a preset, you can, and then go from here and kind of work your way around it. But I'll just go without using a preset for this, just so that everyone can kind of understand that you don't always have to use a preset to get any good results. So bump up the exposure to see how or what's going on. That's usually the one thing that I do for every photo. So we'll do that. And then I think in terms of the highlight, I'll turn it down a bit and then preserve some of those skin tones. And then the shadows, it's all personal preference, but like the darker areas, you can kind of see a bit more of it if you prefer that way. And then you can either like crush the blacks a bit and then the whites, leave it at 0. And we'll just go straight down into the HLS. And these two colors, the greens and yellows, are the two primary colors that are apparent in the frames. So we really want to take in count and like really focus on perfecting those colors. So in terms of the green, I really love this hue of the green. It's not so much like these kind of like saturated greens that sometimes occurs in some situations, but I do still want to kill a bit of the green and mute it. So in order to mute it, you go down with the luminance and as well as the saturation. You can even go further to really kill the greens, but we didn't want to leave a bit of that. So that is what I would do for the greens. And then for the yellows, I think it's too much. So we can turn down the saturation and maybe bring up the luminance of it. And that already kind of fixes this distracting yellow of a color saturation of the yellow. So maybe a bit more of it. Yeah. Okay. So one thing that I realized with portraits is that if you do prefer to add grain and you add grain, you can kind of get away with not doing a perfect job of skin retouching. And
that's a good point.
But this only works. Okay, this is a 50 millimeter my bad, lens. So it's a bit of a classic portrait lens, but if you shoot 35 or a bit far away, the further you shoot, you can get away with that. You can get away with like adding grains and not having to do much of skin retouching.
And we do have a question. So this is from YouTube, and they said, "Hey Kohki, yesterday you told us about understanding light. To those who are starting, what do you mean by that?"
Oh, okay. Thank you for watching yesterday's live. By understanding light, so as humans, we don't see what we see in front of us. We see light, therefore we see the object. And without light, we don't see the object. So that means that's how important light is. So light can really kind of shape so in terms of like portraits, say if the lighting is coming from the left and it's a bit not top down or down up lighting, and it's softer, so it's diffused. So if you also have like a thin cloud formation covering the sun, even during the midday, it kind of diffuses the light, so it makes it softer. So you don't get harsh, like super harsh. I wish I had a portrait where it's like super harsh, but it's it looks so terrible. I don't want to show it, but um, it will really, it's really hard to explain. But you'll see how like light can really change how certain things or anything looks. I never actually trying to explain what
No,
lighting.
I agree though. Like when you like you said, like the way we see things is from light, and I think that understanding light or playing around with light will give you different perspectives too. So whether you like the diffused look, you like if I go out and shoot here in Phoenix, Arizona, and it is hot and sunny, and I don't want a harsh light look and the sun is beating down everybody's face, I'm probably not going to want to shoot during that time, or I'm going to look for, areas where I can or I'll either bring like a diffuser if I can diffuse the light, or shoot in areas where there's shadow, where there's like a large shadow so I can have more even lighting. If you want to play around with lighting, I like what you did here where like you kind of placed it around the plants, and so you have like the light that's coming in obviously, but then the shadow that's forming because of the plant that's there, and so you can play around with light with that way. But I do think it's important to understand like what direction light is coming from and how it's hitting your subject, because that's what it's going to look like. You want to know like, okay, am I going for this look? If you're going for the harsh light look, then maybe you do want your subject to face hard direct sunlight.
Good luck with that.
I know. But if you don't, if you want more of a diffused look, maybe shoot at different times of the day, or bring certain items that will help you diffuse the light, and or look for shadows and things of that nature. That way you can kind of get the look that you're going for.
Yeah, I think it's always good to not really, I don't think there's many portrait photographers that shoot midday without like any shadows or like a reflector or like a diffuser, but yeah,
but sometimes it's a look, but it's a very specific.
It is, yeah. I mean, I can't really argue with that, but for instance, if I shot this is sometimes in the afternoon around sunset, but if I shot this during the day, first of all, the shadow won't be the same, but it'll be harsher. So if I go ahead and do this, you can kind of see the shadows like darker, but then because of the light being strong, her skin's going to be blown out. So the gap between the shadows and her skin tone is going to be so dramatic to the point that it's hard to make it look aesthetic. It's hard to, it's just too harsh. The lighting's just too harsh, so it wouldn't work. So like shooting this photo only worked because of the time of the day, how the light is hitting. But yeah, I think that's the best I can do for explaining how light is.
No, I think that makes sense. I mean, that's a good example. Like you said, like this photo probably wouldn't have worked as well if it was shot with harsher lighting. But I know someone put in the comment, Ferry said, harsh light looks wonderful to me sometimes. And I agree. Like there are times where it's appropriate, and like, and if it's like a creative choice, it looks good. But if it's not the look that you're going for, then you want to understand light, so that way you can get whatever it is that you're wanting to see in your photo.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true, and it's just a creative choice, I feel like. But it's safer. It's safer to shoot in a soft light.
Yeah,
less things that go wrong. Yeah, so I think in terms of portraits, I usually don't do too much in Photoshop, but I come into Lightroom, and even similar to before yesterday's live, I'll actually use a lot of these brush tools too. So kind of bring out the eyes, and so I'll kind of just go up with exposure, kind of make it sharp with the clarity and texture, paint over her eyes, and it gives that pop. And it's nothing crazy, but as long as you don't go overboard, it really adds a lot to the eyes. So that is what I usually do. And then going pretty quick here, I would add another mask, the radial, and then just kind of bring the brightness up. And then it kind of focuses in the center, which is great. Maybe turn down put the highlights down a bit more. And then I'll also use gradient. You can, yeah, I'll use the gradient and just bring down the exposure. Actually, yeah. Maybe the shadows. Okay, and then of course we do want to subtract this area. And then we do the same for the top. It's actually similar in terms, what I do for portraits is similar to cityscapes and landscapes, just focusing.
I'm seeing that with the way you use the brush tool, and your gradients are very similar to how we were editing yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's just all the same. Like you just use the same technique, but like you keep in mind that it's a different like photo. So yeah, even just doing that kind of, there's like, it's a very minor edit. I think it's a more neutral kind of edit where if you don't want like an overdone look, this would be perfect. I think it's already aesthetic enough with these colors, complementary like the greens and the yellows. So that was, I usually spend a bit more time, but yeah, for instance, when you look at this photo right now, you can also see that there's this blue.
Yeah.
And you do want to get rid of stuff like that, which is distracting. So in terms of this photo, I believe there's no blue in any other aspect, like any other part of the frame. So you can kind of just be lazy and do this.
No, and then just mute it out.
Yeah, and then I mean, that's way better than before. So we went from this to this, which is less distracting. You can use Photoshop and kind of, I think it's better if it's a bit, maybe that's better.
Yeah. There you
go.
So
yeah, simple things like that really help. I would also like go into depth and add brush tools instead of doing the linear gradient, and then kind of darken the parts that are not these the flowers. So the further gaps. So the side of the frame here with the sweater, and like these gaps, like just very subtle edits, but it further like pulls the focus into the middle. So
yep, exactly.
Yeah, similar concept, but that is how I pull focus and edit a photo. I know like if you get the photo from the get-go, like pretty like decently, or like how you want it to be, will look like, you can kind of just mess with the saturation, luminance, edit a bit here, and you go from like this to this and you're done pretty much. So I think you don't always need to use a preset, but
Agreed.
It does help. Yeah, so that is how I'll go about editing like a sunset portraits. Yeah.
Beautiful. And then real quick, because I know you said earlier that you probably spent like 5 minutes taking these photos. Like, what was the, like, were you guys just walking and you saw the flowers and, you know, saw the bush and area and you're like, oh, let's take photos there? Or was it was it like an intentional thing, or was it just kind of like, oh, us, you know, just in light of the moment?
We shot at a nearby location from here. It's within the Yoyogi Park, which is one of the biggest parks in Tokyo, but we shot the cherry blossom because it was in season, and then we walked out. We were like, the sun was going, it got dark there, so we left. And then my eyesight's not great, so I look over, and it's like a tree with like yellow things. It looked like like bananas. So I was like curious, and I went close to it, and I discovered it's like a flower. So it was like, this is pretty sick. So, yeah.
Oh, I love, because sometimes I was just curious because sometimes you get, really beautiful portraits out of just curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to try sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. If y'all have any questions for Kohki, please be sure to drop them in the chat. I do see it that the conversation on lighting did continue, but I do agree with Harry. They had mentioned that it really just depends on the look that you're going for, whether you use harsh or soft lighting. There might be certain situations where one might be better than the other, but I really think it's just kind of objective to whoever is shooting and what it is you're trying to get. But yes, if you have any questions, and whether you're on YouTube or Behance, be free, to drop them in the chat so that way we can continue the conversation. All right, what do we have next?
Okay, so this is probably more interesting for everyone because it's going to be working with lights and a lot of elements when I shoot. And I actually don't know where to start, but yeah, so the whole episode was about editing a recent project. And so this is one of the recent projects that I've, not really a project. I don't know what a project is. It's like something I really wanted to shoot. It's nothing. Project seems like a school, like super intensive like project. But yeah, so I wanted to shoot a portrait that kind of resembles like Tokyo with like the neons, and somewhere no one's ever shot. So this, I believe, if someone's already shot here, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty confident that no one's has. It's in a building with a this neon at the back here, and it's very famous. So everyone shoots it from ground up. But then I really wanted this kind of top-down shot that feels like anime kind of vibe, where it's like on a rooftop looking down with like the neons close by. It does have like a Hong Kong look vibe as well, but yeah, this is the photos that I really was going for. And as you can see, even for portraits, it's blue hour. So I do love my blues. And I think there was maybe 4 or 5 minutes that I could actually shoot like decent before it got dark. So this is like these two are probably like earlier stages of blue hour, and then later these ones got darker. So that's that. I had to work around it, but I shot on the A1 and it has 20 FPS burst shooting, which is like crazy. So I was burst shooting just so that I get,
oh wow,
I don't have to bump up the ISO. And the creative decision I made for these sets of photo is these light leaks or light like streaks. And I get asked this a billion times, and it's this right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's called the star filter, and there's maybe a dozen different styles, but it's a filter where it has crosses, and it gives the light kind of streaks through. And a good example is, even if this doesn't make sense, if we go here, this right here is what's it creates like a light streak like this in any light source. So I'm really like in love with this filter, so I highly recommend it. But that's how I got this look. And for these, I'm not going to go into skin retouching. It's already pretty much done. I've had it ready for the editing. But first things first, I'll go and edit by adding the preset. It looks awful, as you can see, but we're going to bump up the exposure. We don't really need to. I do want to go for like a blown out look anyways, and it is already blown out, so it doesn't matter too much. We kind of want to focus on the portrait and getting the colors right. So yeah, a lot of work to do, but we go and let's, there's so many ways to go about it, but let's go ahead and just bring the shadows up so it's not too dark in the shadows. Maybe we can, yeah, the blacks too. And yeah, so it's a bit purple. So yeah, definitely go and fix that by adding a bit more green, the tint slide. And that already looks a bit decent.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the blues here are just ridiculous. So let's just tone it down a bit. And I think that looks a bit better for now. And the preset already has this like -5 in the orange, which I don't need, as well as the luminance. So put that back. So as you can see, that was like a bit too much. But I do like a bit of luminance, the glow, I think it's nice with the hair here. So we can kind of tweak the yellows too. Yeah, I think that looks good for now. And let's crop the image because I feel like it's not straight, and you can kind of tell that by this like building up here. But yeah, that looks much better. And for a portrait, this is pretty dark. Like it's not something I'm a fan of. Like, so we can kind of just go here and create a mask, bring it up a bit, and then of course, let's see. I think we can kind of put this slider. So this is the split toning tool, which adds colors to the highlights and shadows. And I usually love adding blues. That's pretty aggressive, but like the blues, but it's shot in the blue hours, so we kind of don't necessarily need it as much. What we can also do is if we can play around with like the shadows and highlights and give a totally different look. If we go into the greens, like so, it looks way different. So that could work too, but yeah, we'll leave it at 0 for now. And then because it is warmer now, I do want to kind of try and fix it. But I think we'll leave it here for now. I think this, because of the lighting, her skin tone's not ideal, but we can just quickly go here. And I'm just deciding which direction I should take it. But we can even use a mask tool as well. So a simple edit with like adding saturation.
Yeah.
And just making a bit. If you do it too much, I think it's not great because the skin tone wasn't like, as you can see, it's not that like, I don't know how to explain it, but like if you compare it with this, like this has the colors already there, which you can play around with.
Yeah, where they weren't really like there in that image before. They're
Yeah.
more so creating it. Yeah.
But for this one, not so much. But yeah, maybe just bump up the saturation for the orange. That kind of helps. But this part isn't really, it's oversaturated now, so we are going to fix that. And we also want to kind of emphasize this light as well while we do that. So we can just create another mask like this. If you kind of want to blow it out a bit, make it more dreamy, you can kind of use the dehaze tool and kind of really bring that light even further to life. So that is good. And then if you don't necessarily like love the saturation of the orange here, you can kind of mask it and tone it down. So even like with that mask, you can kind of fix it. But I don't necessarily think, I think it's more of the reds for me. So I could just fix the reds instead of the oranges. And we can do that by adding a mask. So go like that. Actually, that's gonna kill the oranges, my bad. Let's go ahead and duplicate this layer.
So you're just kind of targeting the specific, the red light streaks and just bringing down the saturation of them individually. Yeah.
Okay. I think that looks a bit better. But I also do want to kind of hold on, add more glow to the overall like light back here. You can do that just by like adding masks. And I think for this, we do want to get rid of this blue. It's a bit distracting, and the color down here is a bit distracting. So we can do this later in Photoshop, but then for now we can just quickly add these masks here to bring the focus into the middle for now.
And while we do that, we do have a few questions that have popped into the chat. So let me see. We have one question from Andy that says, "Hey Kohki, will you edit the same photo multiple times?"
That's actually a great question. I usually don't, but sometimes when I'm feeling creative or inspired, I would edit the same photos different ways and kind of see if anything else looks better. But I already know in terms of like my edits, I know what I enjoy, like what I like actually. So like I'll just keep it consistent. But yeah, usually just multiple times, but trying to perfect the edit that I want to achieve. If that's the right answer, I think.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I feel that. And then the next question is, who is your favorite photographers, or who are your favorite photographers?
Oh, that's a tricky question. I don't know. I feel like it always changes for me. It always changes, but I remember when I first started, I think I was following like the Australian guys like Demas, Rosley, Ichban, aka Ben, and like who else? Ivan One from US. I think he's in New York. He's based in New York, but yeah, I follow those people. So, but it just keeps changing. I feel like you grow and you kind of like your vision kind of changes too, and yeah, so it always changes. But those people are the ones that I used to I follow from the when I first started. Yeah,
I feel that. But yeah, I agree. Kind of mine always changes. I really don't think I can answer who my favorite photographer is right now offhand, because there's probably too many and the list is just all over the place. So
Yeah.
and another question is, do you ever use Vaseline or lotion on a UV filter for some effects in your photo?
UV filter?
Mm-hmm.
Is
Have you
that the
ever?
one is that the one that's like the protector
I think
filter?
so. I think that's the protector, and then I guess like, and you add Vaseline and lotion to see if it does anything.
Oh, okay. So it's a trend now where people have Vaseline and then
Mm-hmm.
it glows, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that because I have a black mist filter and the
The
star
star
filter.
filter. Okay, gotcha,
It's
gotcha. That's
yeah, it's
true. I feel
yeah.
like those hacks are usually utilized more so when people don't have, a star filter or certain filters that will get them that look.
Yeah. And I know it's pricey. I think this star filter cost me like 175 US and I had to like back order it
Mm-hmm.
and like
So it might be cheaper to just, if you don't have a star filter,
but
it just
it's
might be
not the
quick. I know. And
it's not the same.
you never know. I've done that before where I've added like, where I didn't have, even going back, even not even having a filter at all, I would use like, like the plastic, it's not foil, but like the plastic saran wrap.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
use that and I would put like lotion or more so Vaseline on it, and I would just like put it around my lens.
Really work.
And then it will give me like a hazy, yeah, this is
Wow.
sometimes you gotta make do with what you have. So
I wouldn't go that far. Like I wouldn't think that far, I feel
yeah,
like.
I did, this is back to, like, Ferry said, I'm a college student, so no cash. I felt that, like, when I had no money for anything, you get really creative.
Yeah, true. I mean, when you're a student too, I feel like it counts.
Absolutely. But I
Yeah.
think that Perry, if you're wanting to get that look, I do think if you have a UV filter, you could use like Vaseline to get that same kind of hazy effect.
Mm.
Another question, y'all are killing it in the chat. How do you price your job in the beginning, and how was the journey?
Oh wow, that's a big one. I get asked this so many times. First of all, I'm gonna lay it out there. I never talk about um, anything money related to anyone, but and for the sake of education, I feel like I sometimes do like, but yeah, like when I first started, I didn't plan to start photography as a freelancer. Like I came back from the University of Sydney, flew back to Tokyo. I was like, I want to work at Apple as a retailer because I really love their product and I believe in what they do. This is it okay to say this? I don't know. They have like I'll say it. They have a bunch of interviews.
Mm.
So many, way more than you can imagine with like normal jobs. And then I failed on the last one, so I didn't make it. But then I got an email that day, that night from the North Face, and they were like, "We need a photographer, and also as the photographer, like, because I was doing urban exploration, and that is their new line, and they wanted a photographer that also kind of can like be the look for their new line." So that was the first job, and then from there I was like, okay, I can probably do this. And then I kept going, but then it's not every day you get jobs like that. So I used to do photo service for tourists. So when tourists comes to Tokyo, they always want photos, no matter if it's family, their loved ones, like any like occasion, like even by themselves, they sometimes ask me. And then I used to do a full day, which is like usually depending on the people, but 5 to 8 hours for $500. And that I've done for 2, maybe 3 years. But by that time, I raised my rates to like 1,000 and then made it so it's 6 hours a day. So that is how I kind of started, I guess, paid for everything. And yeah, just hustling every day, posting photos every single day at 8 p.m. for 2 years straight. done that, and then I guess it just happened. But it's also important to know that there's no way I would have been like where I am if it weren't for all my friends. So
Yeah.
connection is really important. So while you do that, you want to make a lot of connections.
Yeah, no, I agree. Connection and community is really important. When I started in college. And to be honest, the reason why I started is because I was making $8.50 with my little campus job, working probably like 10 hours a week,
Oh
barely,
no.
10 to 12. So barely I would get like a check with every week you're getting $100, and then you got taxes, and then you got all these other things. So I was making no money. And I like to live not a lavish lifestyle, but I like to take care of myself. So
I mean, if you can, yeah,
if
of
you
course.
can. And so I was like, I need a way to make some extra money. And I remember seeing, I had a friend who was older than me that wanted to get her senior pictures done. And I was like, oh, people do grad photos on campus and they make money for it. So I went into photography originally for the wrong reasons. I was just trying to make
Uh,
up some extra cash, but then in doing it, found my love for photography. And I think a lot of it is when you look at your journey of, like, especially with pricing. I think in the beginning I was just trying to get as much work as I could. So my prices were horrific. I mean, I was doing things for like,
mm,
$50, $100, and it was like a lot extensive editing, extensive hour time. But I think everyone kind of goes through that time where you probably weren't charging that much, but you were getting experience, you were getting the photos, you were hustling a little bit. And then when you know more, you can do better. So
mm.
um I think that's kind of like what my journey kind of looked like. Was, very beginning, it was really rough. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the opportunities that I went after, and just trying new things, having my friends and community that would encourage me, talking to them too, because sometimes if you don't know something, maybe somebody else that you have in your community that's also a photographer, they can educate you on. So I think it's really important to have that community too. So
Yeah, I think that's super important. I think even with anything, right? Like even sports, just have people that elevate you.
exactly. Elevate you to that next level. All right, I think that's
Yeah.
all of our questions so far. Oh,
All
no,
right.
one more question
Oh, okay.
before we continue. I didn't want to miss these ones from earlier. So somebody asked, you use star filter with diffusion. What is the shop of the star filter things?
Well, where is it from?
Yeah, where
Or
is it from? Yeah, where did you
oh,
purchase the star filter?
so the star filter is from Tiffin. So in my humble opinion, I think they are more on the pricier side, but more accurate. So
Mm,
what I for me when I first started, I made a mistake of cheaping out on filters. And they have usually a weird tint sometimes, especially for BND filters.
hmm
So I always go for the best ones, and it's the 82 millimeter. I always use all 82 and then use step up rings so I don't have to buy multiple ones.
mm.
And this is called the Digital HT Star 4PT 2 millimeter.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, probably like
Perfect.
one of the best things you can buy
Ah,
for your lens. Um,
beautiful. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kohki, for that. And if y'all have any other questions, drop them in the chat. The chat is bumping. I'd love to see it. So if you have questions on YouTube or Behance, drop them and we'll ask them throughout the rest of our stream. All right. So now we can
Amazing.
go back to
Yeah.
what we were doing.
So yeah, just back to where we are. We want to focus here. So I'm just quickly like making this brush tool and like either like pulling down the exposure so this isn't like as it was a bit red before. Yeah, it was super red, so we're trying
hmm
to get rid of that. And then if we go up here and do the same for this, because we want to more, it is nighttime and we want to
hmm
emphasize neon, so we do want to darken it more and just pull the focus into the center. And yeah, I think we can easily do that by just brushing it. And as simple as I went more into detail when I edited, but like just to show you guys.
hmm
Yeah, I'm just doing it really quick. But then when you do, when you do this, it also like changes the saturation luminance of the colors apparent in this part of the frame. So it is more blue than, okay, wait, hold on. I need to, this is how I do it. Yeah. So this is more like a lighter blue. And then just because we darkened it, it changes. So you gotta kind of remember that. And if you don't like it, you can also edit within that mask and just kind of tweak the saturation like that. And then you can, that's dramatic, but as you can see, it goes, it's less blue. Or like if you want to bring the blues up, you can do that. And that's the quickest way.
Yeah.
But I think I like that. So
yeah,
we'll leave it at that. Yeah, it's so far we went from here to here. I would probably get rid of this and everything, but I think we can even, when I'm feeling a bit like lazy, I do tend to just do these in Lightroom because it's sometimes like not that difficult, but let's see if it works.
Are you just using a brush tool to try to bring down the saturation of all that blue? Yeah.
So if, all right, very lazy, but that is one way to do it. But okay, let's do it the proper way. And then I can show how you can actually edit separately like this. Like the, wait, hold on. I think I've made a mistake here.
Did it bring in the original image and not?
Yeah, I think I just brought the original. There we go. So yeah, these sets I haven't uploaded yet, but I'll upload it on Instagram very soon. So if any of you want to actually see the photos, like photos on Instagram and observe them, you'll be able to in a bit. But yeah, duplicate the photo, and then I think this we can actually edit. Let's see. Okay, let's just fix this blue. And to do so, I usually, the easiest way, or the only way I know, is to kind of go here and subtract this area of wherever. Okay, we gotta unhide this bottom layer, but say we just don't want that blue, and then go to 0. So the top frame here is this image, what you're looking at, but then this part of the photo is just subtracted. I can do a better job, but like just by the sake of explaining this, this is what it looks like. But yeah, so that means that this bottom layer, which has the blue still here in frame, we can kind of edit without affecting this photo here. So if there's a lot of blue going on up here and there's blues like blue overcast all over, even here in the middle, like handrails. So we do want to only edit this part. So that's how you usually edit that area. And then we go here with selective color and we click this. So it's only applying to this image right here, which you see with the blue. And then we want to change the blue. So usually it's either the cyan or blue that you want to change. You can actually change the color. As you can see, you can really tweak the colors like that. So I actually don't mind a bit of blue there. Like I don't want to kill it too completely.
And out of curiosity too, where were you standing when you took this photo? Are you
So
inside of this, I'm not sure if it's a building, apartment or something, and shooting out the window while she's over there on the ledge?
yeah, it's a weird location. I guess I didn't think about that. But
I was wondering, I was like, what was this location?
so urban exploration is my passion. It's my reason I'm
Mhm.
here. So I used to do a lot of rooftopping and I like exploring places. And so this spot is a building, and then next to it there's another building. So I kind of hopped over to the next building because the
Mhm.
composition was good, and then I shot from that building. But then you say next building, but it's literally like right in front of you,
Mhm.
like one step like out. So it's not a big deal. But yeah, it made sense because the neons are here, and if I was shooting from this angle, I wouldn't get the neons behind her, which
Mm.
wouldn't create this glow, like the backlit kind of vibe that I really was going for. So yeah, that's how I shot it.
All right, dope. I was just curious. I was like, oh, I wonder how he shot these.
I mean, if you were there, you would do the same, I feel like, for sure. It's like if you saw the environment. But yeah, as you can see, we really just killed that blue like that, and it's less distracting. This looks more like the window here and here.
Mhm.
Just like you can really mute it if you want, but that's how I usually go about editing specific areas. You can do that with this area as well if you don't like this red, or just this part as well, but actually don't mind it. But yeah, that is how you can edit specific areas of the frame or
Mhm.
colors. So yeah, let's go ahead and save this.
And back into Lightroom we go.
Yeah, I think it's a very straightforward process for my kind of portraits that I do. But yeah, that is pretty much it. And then I would really like kind of darken this area even more, but
Yeah. Helps to bring your focus back to the main subject.
yeah, I guess that looks good. And then there's not much greens. Okay. I think in general, like that's pretty much how I'll go about editing this one. But this is probably my favorite photo just because of the glow.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to edit like an actual portrait. So we could edit one of these, but
Ooh,
I do want to
yes.
go ahead and edit this one because it's more like it's easier to understand, and I
Mm-hmm.
can also show different kind of like um how I can color grade it differently to make it
Mm-hmm.
look different, even though if it's like the same kind of image. So again, after I think this photo, it looks a bit, it doesn't usually look this low of a contrast, but because of the filter, I think it gives that not a log file, but it just looks more the
Mm-hmm.
contrast, or like low contrast. Yeah, it's really nice because of the star filter effect. And okay, it looks very awful right now, but I'm gonna quickly fix this. I think we can go down with the exposure.
How long did it take you to make your presets?
I think it was a struggle because I think it was when I finally kind of discovered how I would like my photos to look like.
Mm-hmm.
I finally found I, I don't know. I feel like I just one day I was like, oh, like this looks good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a base, so it's kind of like adding, it's like a starting point. So it's
Yeah.
not something you should like overthink about,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no one preset you can make that can work for
Every
everything.
single photo. Yep.
So I wouldn't use this preset right here actually for this photo. I used a different one, which is not in this, yeah, which I don't have, but it's the portrait preset pack. I didn't install it here for some reason, but yeah, actually, let's not use it because I actually didn't use this preset.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go ahead and just quickly get this to look more contrasty and decent. So that looks good. I always go down with the clarity again because I like that softer look, and then bring clarity back in specific areas of the frame, especially like the eyes, lips, sometimes the hair, because
Mm-hmm.
if the light's hitting, it gives that pop. Yeah, I think that looks good. And then we go down here and just tweak a bit of the colors in general. I think the blues again here could go darker. I might mute it a bit more. And yeah, I think that looks good already. And maybe I don't like the yellows here, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna bring it down. I feel like the more colors you introduce in a frame, the harder it's gonna get for you to make it look aesthetically pleasing. So I do kind of want to limit myself to less colors, like blues
Mm-hmm.
and orange, or like blues and greens, maybe 3 colors at the most. And yeah, that looks, I think I'm really happy with this. And then going really quickly, I can use the mask. I can usually use whichever mask I want, but of course you want to darken the places that are dark in the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And just pull focus.
I do really like how the light is really kind of like creating a spotlight on her face. It brings you like a lot of your attention straight to her eyes, which is really nice.
Yeah, thank you. I think I don't think you can, it takes time I think it takes a long time for you to realize what's good and what's not good.
Mm-hmm.
And like to kind of see it before you shoot it, because if you don't see the environment and envision it, you won't be able to like attempt that photo.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I feel like it took me so long for me to like actually get that skill, maybe like 3-4 years even. Even now I'm like struggling because it's, you never know, it's sometimes like weird locations look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe turn the luminance for orange, and that's already looking good. And I usually just add clarity into the eyes and stuff so it's more crisp, because we
Mm-hmm.
did subtract the clarity overall in the frame.
And we have another question. Oh, this one is somebody asked, does Kohki parkour? I feel like it's an essential skill for urban exploration.
I mean, I can backflip in a trampoline, and that's about it. um I skate though. I love skateboarding. Um, I just split my shins the other day,
Ah.
but I still love it. I think it's, I mean, if you do any kind of sports and
Mm-hmm.
if you have agility, it's usually okay. You're not really jumping from, it's not like a movie where you're jumping from building to building.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like that, if it's like stunt man kind of stuff, it's gonna require some acrobatic skills. But yeah, do you want to kind of, for this photo, I think this was very few photos that I actually attempted something different, and I
Mm.
added greens like that into the shadows and orange into the highlights. And I think I'm not sure if it's like very apparent within the photo, but
Mm. What made you want to go and try to do something differently with this photo in general instead of going with your usual blues?
it was just kind of getting tiring to see the same stuff over and over. Like this photo here is so simple. Like I didn't do too much, but
Mm-hmm.
then it's always like this when I shoot during the daytime, sunset and sunrise. So
Mm-hmm.
this time I was like, it's like I know I'm not pushing too much, but try and do something different for the
Mm-hmm.
sake of, you know, getting out of like where you're comfortable with and trying new things. But yeah, I think adding greens might be something I want to try challenge myself to do more. It's just different. A lot of cinematic like movie films, they added a lot of
Yeah.
greens, and I think I
Mm-hmm.
got inspired by that. But yeah, I think in general, it's like that would be maybe I can even like cool it down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in general that is how I go about editing this too. But yeah, it's super simple. Going back to like these photos here, I think let's see. Oh yeah, I think it's always like for me, I kind of have struggle photographing the location because I myself don't know when exactly would look better. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like during the whole blue hour, I shot like so many photos, but then but I can't like be like, okay, I need to shoot at this time
Yeah.
in this composition and I'm good. Like like that never happens.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's really
so
restrictive
yeah,
too.
I think it's yeah, I think I don't know if I'm like not there. Like I guess if you like really study it or like really get into it, maybe at some point in life you'll be like, this is the shot, that's all I
Mm-hmm.
need, like
Mm-hmm.
film photography. But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
the
let's
reason why I really want to get into film photography, but that's kind of my fear with it is because I'm not very I give myself time and a lot of grace when I'm shooting. So that way, if I make a mistake, it's okay. I took plenty of shots and I got, I didn't know what composition or I got different options so I can pick what I want. And with film, it's very like you only have so many shots. Um,
yeah,
so
it's also, yeah, it's very expensive too.
that part,
uh
it is very expensive, but it also is a good challenge to try to train your eye to know exactly what you need to get and when like how you want to get it because you only have so many frames. And then
mm,
also it's so expensive, so don't want to be wasting money on extra and extra rolls of film if you can avoid it. So it's definitely a good
yeah,
challenge
it's
for sure.
it's a pressure, you just like trying to pressure yourself to do
Yeah.
better kind of. Yeah, I think because I started film 2 years ago,
Oh
and since
wow.
then I've actually felt like I actually think about, I step back and think.
Mm,
Whereas like I use Sony and I go on burst mode and I just shoot everything and like everything I can ever think of in that
mm-hmm.
moment. I don't step back and think. So and I end up with like 100 gigabytes of photo, and it's just like all, maybe I get one really good one, but
Yeah.
it's not accurate. So film photography does really help
Yeah.
for sure. Um, yeah, I think if I these are like from like my 7 years of portrait photography, this is all like I'm happy with. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so there's not much. But as you can see, these are the photos that I already edited, but I'll just show you like the result.
Oh,
Um, I
wow.
actually didn't fix this blue uh, for this one, but I might do that. Yeah, but as you can see, it's like
Yeah, those are beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful. So that photo you cropped in.
this one I just cropped in, I think. No, maybe it's a
Oh, that's a
different. I
different
actually
photo.
don't remember at all. But yeah, it's I think yeah, I think I shot it differently. I'm not too sure, but yeah, surely the crop won't be
Yeah.
that good. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Um,
And I think
but
her hand placement was
it's different. Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. I also do make a portrait episode on YouTube.
Hmm.
And there, I think it's actually one of the most popular episodes because I take you guys or the audience throughout the whole day and just bring you guys along the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if anyone wants to see my actual shooting process and like all
Oh,
that, you can check that out. I think
I
that
didn't know
is
you had a
also.
YouTube channel too. Wait, hold on. We gotta drop the link to that YouTube because
I mean, it's on my Instagram bio, so but like
okay, perfect. So y'all
yeah,
know where you
it's
can find it. Head over to his Instagram, go to his bio, you'll be able to find his YouTube channel.
yeah, I think it's always like fun to I don't really do like these kind of tutorials. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like really I'm awful at like explaining.
Mm-hmm.
So I do enjoy the casual more vlogging and then like explaining a bit, but then showing
Showing the
the actual like
process.
yeah.
I feel that. I feel that.
Uh,
Oh, Steve made a comment about film. Let's see. What did he say? Even just shooting casual snaps with film, sending the roll to a developer out of 36 pics, you might get 4 that were great. Yikes. And then they also said the other downside was the time between taking a film pic and developing and printing could be days, and you forget the steps you did unless you wrote everything down. So it's definitely a unique type of photography to get into. But I do think I love film photography. That's why I really, really want to be more diligent about it and try, because I do think it'll impact how I view, how I shoot digitally, just like you mentioned. So that is a goal I have for myself, but it's been a goal for like 3 years now. So I just haven't made much progress with it.
I feel like you're in a good, you should consider it right now because the yen is low. So if you can get
Yes,
something
that's
from
true.
Japan, like eBay
Oh,
or
that is
something.
so true. Oh, thank you, Kohki. Oh, and thank you, Sam, for dropping his YouTube in the chat. Look at that. We are on top of the links here at Adobe Live. I'd love to see it. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I think I was planning to just kind of go through these photos and edit.
I think that'll be great because I really love the final product of the entire set. So it'd be really nice to see if you approach these photos in the same way or what was different, especially for some of these that are, the
Further.
different,
Yeah.
yeah, further for sure, in the different lighting.
I think overall, because we shot during like maybe 15 minutes throughout the blue hour, the blue does change. So one thing to keep in mind
Mm-hmm.
is consistency. If you're showcasing the photos as a whole, like multiple photos, you definitely don't want like one to look like this and then
Mm-hmm.
another to look like this.
Mm-hmm.
And the one really like easy way to fix it is always like use this and like for instance, if you have this done, you can compare it with like the ones that aren't done and like check to make sure that you have the colors accurately all throughout the
Mm-hmm.
photo. But yeah, I think we can go ahead and just start editing this one because it's a bit different. And I think we can add the preset, bring up the highlights, and then the shadows as well. Exposure. Maybe this part's too blown out, so we can actually fix that a bit. We're going to darken this area anyway, so this is not too important. But bring the dehaze back to 0. Let's see. You can kind of bring the contrast back down. And this will be the base to where how we'll start the photo. So now we just look at the temperature and it's a bit too cool. We can actually fix it here too, but maybe just bring it to 0. And yeah, I think like I don't even know like which direction I should take the temperature to sometimes. So I usually just mess around. But I think we do want to emphasize the warmth from here. So I usually, keep that in mind. So even though I do like a cooler tone, I'll go up with the temperature. And I think there's not much tint or magenta, but I think we can go a tad down. I think it's very minor, but it does help, I think, because we did change the temperature. And yeah, I think in terms of the balance of the photo, I'm really happy with. So now I think we can go ahead and just, let's see. I think if we do add these masks, we can actually go down here and use vignette as well a bit if you do want to go really like, if you're going to add it all around throughout the frame, you can just do that and just speed up the process a bit. And then the midpoint, you do want to drag it down so it's more mellow in terms of the effect. And then that already is a bit darker. So from there, we can add a brush. And then just kind of go dark here. Maybe the shadows. And then we are going to paint this part. Usually have music playing. And it's like so weird to not have that.
To have a little silence every now and then with no like, nice little, what kind of music do you edit to then?
Oh,
and with that, does your editing style, well, I don't know if it does because I know you have a very unique style, but does it ever like shift based off of what you're listening to?
That's a new one. I perform better with music for sure. And depending on the mood, I feel like if I don't want to listen to anything with lyrics, I always go for lo-fi, just something calm, like chill. But then if I'm really like trying to like hype myself up or like trying to stay awake because need to get the edit done, I'll like try and put on, I like MGK, Machine Gun Kelly, listening to his music since like 2010, before he became rock. So like I'll put him on, just like try and get things done, get through the editing. But yeah, I do need music for everything. Even if I'm doing any kind of sports, I perform better when I'm listening to music.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess it's similar to a lot of people, but
Yeah,
do,
I'm the
do you
same
listen to
way.
music
I
like when
do.
you
I yeah,
edit?
yeah, I do. I have to. Like
Oh,
sitting in
okay.
silence is kind of it's I have to have some kind of background noise. So if it's not music, I might put something on like, I might have my iPad, or if I'm editing in like the living room, then I turn on the TV just to have some noise in the background, even if it's a show that I don't care to really watch and sit down and focus. If I just want to play it and hear people talking in the background, I like that. But I more so like to just listen to music. I'll listen to like something that gets me like hype and energetic, so that I'm like editing and I'm
Uh,
feeling good.
yeah.
If especially for those projects that are like larger, I need a little bit of a hype sesh. So whether that for me right now, that's Beyonce and her recent album, it gives
Okay.
me the energy I need. But on normal days, if I just kind of want to have something nice and soothe, it might be like um jazz music, or just in general, it might be Afro beats that I'll play, because it's just like I can sing, dance, and edit, but sometimes it can just distract me because I might be doing too much dancing. So you just gotta
Mm.
find a nice balance. Like you want to enjoy, but not too much to where you're not getting your work done. So
Wait, do you dance?
I'll like, oh, like, do you mean
Oh,
like
like
dancing,
groove.
Jen? Oh, more like so.
Like,
So the thing with Afro beats is that there's certain dances that we do, and so I don't have to be standing up, but I can like be doing tapping my feet in certain ways that might mimic a dance, or like my
oh,
hands.
okay.
So sometimes if I'm enjoying the song too much, then I'll catch myself doing like a
Oh,
certain
yeah.
dance move and jamming out, and then it's like, wait, Idar, you're not editing, so.
I can relate too. I'm the same. Yeah. It
But
can't be
yeah,
too like good. It's gonna be like in the,
yeah,
yeah.
a nice in between, good enough, but not too good where I'm jamming out. So
Yeah. I think if you don't dance, it doesn't matter. I think.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Um,
Awesome, awesome. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, just so y'all know, we're gonna getting close to doing our artist spotlight. So kind of if you guys have anyone that you want to recommend for future spotlights, there is an artist spotlight button, so you can go ahead and recommend yourself, your friends, your favorite photographer. That way we can, potentially see who we're gonna highlight today, and then see if we can get a future artist spotlight from your suggestions. So we'll do
okay.
that in maybe like 8-ish minutes or so.
All right. Yeah. I think I've covered a lot that I wanted to. It's just yeah, like masks and then subtracting the center
Maybe
and
let's also do a recap. I don't think we've done one of those yet today.
oh yeah,
Um,
we have not.
so if anyone has joined and you're probably wondering what's going on, I'm sure you've caught on by now, but we'll go ahead and just give y'all a quick recap of the work that Kohki has done thus far.
Okay. We kind of just started off with a basic portrait. It's like for me a 50 millimeter is like the definition of portraits or
Mm-hmm.
something I'm comfortable with. So this is a 50 mil shot during sunset, and then we kind of used talked really briefly about how I do skin retouching, which is through Photoshop and using the patch tool instead of the other healing brushes and stuff. So we did that, and then this is the final photo. Uh, and then if I can bring
Beautiful.
this, it is very slow. Okay, so we did use yesterday's technique with brush tool and all the gradient filters, and then darken these areas so it kind of separates from the darker areas and the brighter areas to
Mm-hmm.
kind of make it pop. And then of course we edited or like brighten the portrait like the center area, so it kind of brings out the subject. And yeah, we talked about how to kind of have less colors going on. So less colors
Mm-hmm.
usually equals um, less problems, I feel like. So yeah, just tweak the greens and the yellows. It was originally like very saturated. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we did that. And then we also talked about a filter called star filter. So this is my favorite and go-to filter for portraits. because even if you don't shoot in harsh lighting where it's effective, such as this photo here, this light streak is all created from this star filter, which is called the star 4FT 2mm by Tiffin. And yeah, it's just a really unique look that not a lot of people yet use, I feel like. So it's a yeah, I'm really like loving this. But yeah, regardless of if you don't use this during like a harsh lighting condition, with portraits, you see the light kind of reflecting off of the subject's eyes, and it creates this star. And if you zoom out all the way, it's not very apparent, but it is in the details. It's really nice. So yeah, we talked about the filter, and then we went into editing this photo. So this was using the star filter again, like this backlit neon sign kind of shooting backlit. So we kind of like took this lighting to our advantage while it was blue hour, but not too dark. So this was like at the end of blue hour, it was getting harder to shoot. And of course, this was pitch black, but we still get like nice silhouettes. But in terms of portraits, it's nice to be in the location early, get the earlier blue hour, shoot throughout. And yeah, that's what we talked about, having the shooting portraits in blue hour. And I think that is pretty much it. We did use, again, the same gradient technique to kind of darken the parts that aren't so important. And yeah, pulling the focus in the center.
Now, you do a lot of work from what we've covered the past 2 days, obviously with, the portraits, landscapes, cityscapes, etc. And I know you mentioned that you like having that variety, but is there something that you feel like you're more drawn to out of all your work? Do you prefer portraits? Do you prefer the cityscapes or landscapes photos?
It's really that's a very difficult question because cityscapes and landscapes allow me to travel, and I love traveling. Not just because of the beautiful destinations, but because you get to travel with friends or meet new people. But then portraits are also like super fun because I can shoot in my city, and if you're working with someone that you really like get along with, you have so much fun. And I realize not all models have like a creative vision, but when you find people that do have that creative vision, where it's like, for instance, when I was shooting the portrait episode, the newest one, this is one of the photos that I shot, but she was like playing around with like lights, and we were like trying to figure out a different, like a newer, how to step up the photo even like more. And then that made me realize that, oh wait, I had this red leveler, which then I was like, okay, we got to use that. And then yeah, it just happened to be one of my favorite photos now. So portraits. So yeah, things like that. Even for this, the door was locked, or there was like a staff in the front of the building, and then she was like, yeah, we gotta try this side building. I was like, okay, wait, if we can actually make that, like we can actually like try that like route. And then we ended up like being up here, getting the shot we wanted. So yeah, things like that. It's very fun working with people. So
which one did you start with first? Because I know we talked about your journey earlier, but can you remind us, which one did you start shooting, landscape first, or was it portrait first?
It was street photography and cityscapes.
Okay.
Portraits, I only started, I don't know, like 1 or 2 years later down the line.
Okay.
But yeah,
I
didn't have any like proper like model people, so I shot with my friends and then like worked my way out.
No, I love that because I did the same thing, and even today, whenever I a lot of my portfolio currently, like if you go and look at people are like, oh, like who's this model? I'm like, oh, that's just my one of my girlfriends. You know, sometimes it's just cool to shoot with your friends. You have fun when you can do that, and like it's a good like just like friend bonding thing, and there's no pressure because they're just happy to shoot with you.
Yeah,
So
you
it's
get,
a
I mean, they gotta be comfortable. A lot of my friends are
yes.
comfortable, so
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true. That's a big
You're
part.
lucky though.
No,
Yeah.
I have a lot of
Yeah.
friends that are
Oh,
like, oh, I'm ready. I like you, darn. You need a model. You need a model. So awesome, y'all. So we are at the top of the hour, and I think this is a good spot for us to do our artist spotlight. So, as y'all know, every time we do our live streams on the second day, we love to highlight a specific artist. And so I'm interested to see who we have today. So, Koki, can you go ahead and pull up our artist spotlight, and we can kind of spend some time looking at their work, discussing it, and just talking about who they are.
yeah. It's really cool to be able to introduce my friend Demis Rosley to you guys. He's from Sydney, Australia, as you can see right here. He's a photographer slash designer, but he is an architecture student. As you can see,
Oh,
he's
yep.
very, very like technical to when it comes to photography, which I really respect and learn from. So when I have my lines like crooked, I'm like stressing out, and I feel like I've learned that from him, and which is good. But yeah, he does like he does like landscapes, cityscapes. Does like quite a bit of structural like architecture stuff because he is from that background.
Mm-hmm.
And I followed him when I first started photography in Australia when he was maybe like 15K followers, and he was only uploading architecture stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy to see how long, like how far we
Can
both
you click
became.
on that photo with the basketball court in the
Oh
water?
yeah, this just
Huh?
so I think this was for yeah, like and like the
A
partnership.
partnership.
Yeah,
Huh?
this
Oh, this
makes
is
more
beautiful.
sense.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the first word I said, wait.
Like, how do you get there?
How did this happen? Is this like just really good Photoshop or
I mean, you can see him stand there, but yeah,
yeah. Oh love.
I do want to like the reason why I chose Demis to present is because I really felt like we collaborate well. For
Hmm.
instance, like I think this is the one, but this is like a location in Kyoto district, Kyoto, down south, and um, we shot this spot together. But I was like, there's this photo is being shot so many times.
Mm.
It's already done, and then so I was like, I do want to actually shoot this at night because I've never seen it, and it would be so
Mm.
cool if we can ask those people to turn the lights on and
Ah.
have the lights uh, flashing. Then so this is the photo, but I didn't know how to do it. They were closed, and then we didn't. I didn't know how to achieve this.
Mm-hmm.
But then Demos was like, I can show you how you can create that in Photoshop.
Oh,
And
so
so
that was done in Photoshop.
yeah, like this was done in Photoshop, and like he taught me how to do this. And since we had a stick light, we put the stick light in the mouth, so it's like we didn't have to do all this in Photoshop, but the
Mm-hmm.
eyes is all Photoshop. And I learned a lot, as well as like we both contributed so much because without like him,
Mm-hmm.
this photo wouldn't exist. So yeah, it's really cool to have a friend like him where you can be both like super creative and try and like figure out a way to bring something to life, something
Mm-hmm.
new. But yeah, he does a lot of crazy Photoshop
My
stuff.
gosh, this is absolutely incredible. Can you go actually scroll back up? There was one photo that I really seemed so unreal at the very, very beginning of his page, of his Instagram. Where is it?
Top here,
The one with the balloons. So the second in the middle.
this one. Oh, this is how he does it. Yeah, he shows.
Oh wow.
So he
And
just
then,
flips it, yeah,
oh, that's dope.
and changes the color, the hue.
That's dope. And then how did he do the next one, the second row middle photo?
This one.
Yeah, that is.
Oh, this is actually this is the
Oh, is this like
the
a is
summit.
okay.
It's an
Oh, actually,
observation.
wait, no, I know where this is. Is this in New York?
Yeah.
Okay, I know where this is. When I visited New York for the first time, I did go to this summit, and
Oh.
it's really dope. But I was like, "Whoa, I wonder where this is at." And nah, he's incredible.
The balloon,
Yeah,
there's not this many.
there's not this many exactly. That's why
No.
I was like, "Huh, is this the summit?" Because there's definitely not that many balloons in that place.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way they can. I mean, you
No.
can see it from the reflection here a bit, but
Hmm.
there's no way that it's, yeah.
No. The joys of Photoshop. Love it.
Like his website, he sells prints too, and you can see, yeah, this is like the split of like the Golden Gate Bridge.
Hmm.
He does like
Wow.
this crazy Dubai and outer space, like fantasy kind of photos. These plane series where he photoshops, he actually shoots the act like the planes too, but then he photoshops these different locations that he's visited.
Wow.
So it's not like he just downloads some stock image and just
Hmm.
makes something out of it. He actually shoots it, which is like really cool, I think. So yeah, that's his style. Um, yeah, I think that's about it. I think
That's dope. That's dope. So make sure you guys go ahead and give, is it, how do you pronounce his name?
Demos.
Demas. Give him a
Yeah.
follow on Instagram. Go ahead and check out his website. And then also feel free to look at his prints too. Those are incredible. I might need a print in my home. So make sure y'all go ahead and check out his prints as well. And if you have somebody that you want to recommend for a future artist spotlight, like I said before, there is a nice little button right above the chat box that says artist spotlight, where you can click on it and recommend an artist for us, to spotlight and check out. Awesome. So we still have about, I'm bad with time, but maybe like 15-ish minutes left in her life. 15, 20-ish minutes left. So is there anything that you want to kind of finish out with, Kohki, for the remainder of the live?
Um, I did kind of cover quite everything.
Quite a bit, yeah.
We didn't really finish the edits for these series, but
Maybe let's do that.
yeah, I think even if I don't finish these, I think it's okay because it's going to be uploaded soon.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't published it yet, so I'm super excited to see how it'll do. But yeah, like this photo, we just really going back to it, masks, used a lot of these masks around it. So it's like we didn't have that before. This corner, as well as these bottoms. And then it's my editing. I think for me, I really enjoy editing portraits that aren't just portraits. It's more like an environmental portrait.
Yeah.
Yeah, just brighten the face a bit. Yeah, it's more fun just because it it has like best of both worlds, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Do you enjoy like shooting more like a tighter portrait headshot, or
Yeah,
like
I like, so there are times, I think in general, a lot of my work is kind of probably split between the two, to be honest. I do really love a good portrait, like close up in your face, like capturing the detail of like your features, etc. I have a really big obsession with people. And I really think like our faces tell, like, they kind of like tell a story of like who we
yeah,
are and like certain features that we have. So I do really like to highlight that in my work. But then I also do agree that sometimes like portraits are great and they're cool, but I also really love when I'm able to take a subject and place them in a cool environment and see how I can kind of make them one with whatever that environment is. So I think if I had to pick, I don't know if I can pick which one I prefer.
really.
I don't think so.
Oh, so like
Because I love
50-50.
50, I'll say 50-50 because I love portraits like a lot. But then I also love like finding a cool location, and maybe if there's some like a really cool like building or architecture or something that I can bring into the photo and tie it in with my subject. I think that's really, really dope and creates more of a unique situation opposed to just bam,
Mm.
somebody's face.
Yeah, it does limit you a bit, but
Yeah.
I feel like I actually have a question. This is for me, it's like kind of luck,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really not like great at shooting like super close up. So like,
Mm-hmm.
what would you like? What's one tip that you would give to like create
Uh,
like getting the right like getting it right like when it's like close up because
yeah, I feel that. I feel that. So I would say what you were saying earlier about your lens is probably the most important thing for me. So if I'm shooting a portrait, if I'm shooting like a really up close portrait, I'm most likely gonna shoot it with. Well, actually, to be honest, I used to have a 50 that I used often, and now I use the Canon 28 to 70 because I
oh,
like
okay.
the depth. Like, you know, I can shoot it. I never shoot at 28, but I can shoot at all. I have the option. It's one lens that's really, really universal.
Mm,
But I usually just kind of picking the right focal point, which is usually around that 50 millimeters anyway. And then the one thing is like placement of your subject is really important because if I'm because it's so tight, I don't want like random things coming. Like if there's gonna be other things in the frame, it needs to make sense. So that's why I really love the portrait that you pulled up, that you shot and edited, because like it she's framed really, really nicely to where like you have the flowers around her and you have the flowers casting the shadow on her face. And so it's more intentional opposed to
mm,
like just like taking a portrait, you have this random leaf coming in or something. You have to be just kind of intentional with what's also joining your subject in the photo, because you don't want it to add or subtract from. You don't want it to distract, excuse me, from what your aim is. So I really love this photo because I think that the flowers add to it. That doesn't it doesn't distract, but you're
right, yeah.
still but the subject is still the focal point. Like I'm still drawn into her, which is the point of a portrait, to be drawn into the individual in the image. But I like that you added that you have the surrounding that's being brought in as well, but it's not taking away from like herself in the image. So
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh,
I hope that
it's
makes
hard
sense.
though. It does make sense, but then it's not like you can. This was just pretty much pure luck to
Yeah,
like come
yeah.
across like the lighting and like the situation. But
Hmm. And
it's like,
sometimes
yeah.
I also like symmetric, like just for things to be symmetric. So if I am placing my subject in like like if I'm doing something similar to this, like this, sometimes I like to place them in like around plants or whatever. I just want to make sure if something's coming in from this side, I don't want this empty gap here. I want it also to come from the other side as well, so create some
Okay,
kind of
yeah.
balance. So I think balance is also important too.
Mm.
I think that kind of is another key point to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's so many things can go wrong when you shoot like
Yeah.
kind of. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of like terrified sometimes. So that, yeah.
I feel that, especially because it's like so many things like you said, can go wrong, but it's like it's so limiting. Like you're literally
Mm.
taking a massive environment, saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna do away with all of that," and just take this
I know
little
it's.
tidbit.
I think it's good when it's like part of the series or something. But yeah,
Hmm.
if it's just a standalone piece, you gotta nail it to like,
Yep. Yeah,
yeah.
you definitely do, especially to make a portrait seem interesting and feel like it has. I feel like it's easier to shoot. In my case, sometimes I find like when you find a really cool environment, like sometimes those pictures look more cooler because oh, there might be like a cool building or the location is dope or something.
Mm,
Whereas a portrait sometimes it's just the subject is your
yeah,
main thing. So sometimes I don't want my portraits to come off boring too, but you just play around. That's why I say it's split. Sometimes I love portraits, sometimes I'm like more of a environment and my subject being caught in that environment type of gal. So it just depends.
yeah. I think, yeah, that's true.
But nah, I love it. I love the like going back to these photos, how she's kind of like immersed within the environment and how like the environment is like I really do love the that you focused on the light from the where's this light source coming from? What is it actually? Is it just like a large
It's a
Like,
massive, yeah, like a neon sign with like,
yep, you did
yeah,
say
it's
that.
just a massive neon sign. It's everywhere. Like there's a lot in
Hmm.
yeah, Tokyo or Hong Kong even. There used to be a lot in Hong Kong, but yeah, it's just like it's very common, and a lot of people like the Chinese alphabet, like the kanji,
Hmm.
and so that also does pretty well.
Yeah, because I really like
Yeah.
how the neon lights are kind of spilling onto her in this image. And
Mm,
so I just like how the environment and your subject are kind of becoming one. So it's really nice.
yeah. Thank you.
Of
I think
course, of course.
I think it's also like picking the right people that matches the scene too. I feel like
Yeah,
it's,
that's really true.
like I have a close friend of mine that also kind of like models a bit too, but
Hmm.
she has like really vibrant like dyed hair, like pink or blue.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't shoot her here because it's
Mm-mm.
too much colors and too distracting. But
Hmm.
whereas her, like she has a black hair, which is like natural colored, and then
Hmm.
it goes well with like the nature vibe and also the colors that are going on here. So I
Yeah,
think it's
that's for
important to
sure.
pick the subject
Oh
for the
yeah,
location.
absolutely. Picking the right subject. So I like how you mentioned the hair. Then even like the same thing with clothing and what she's wearing. Like if she was wearing like a bright sweater
Red.
or
Yeah.
like something that was it wouldn't work. But the black is really nice and neutral for the environment. So it's really kind
Mm,
of important to think about all of that. And then somebody asked for the other pictures that you shot, the one with the on the rooftop with the yeah, this one with the neon lights. I know we talked about the location earlier, but if we can talk about it again, somebody asked, is this on a rooftop in Tokyo?
yes, it's Shibuya district. So it's the famous crossing, the world's most busiest crossing. That's the same district. It's a bit on the end of it. But then yeah, if you're wandering around the area, you can kind of come across stuff like this always. And yeah, I think it's super fun to I guess like try and figure out a new composition to shoot and
Hmm.
stuff. So yeah, it's in Tokyo if you're ever here. It's like a neon paradise.
Oh, dope. Awesome. So maybe for the last few minutes, do we want to finish? Are there any more images left in this set that you want to finish up?
It's really sim like I think for this, like we already
Yeah.
pretty much finished. I can quickly show how like if we bring down I wouldn't go use the vignetting this much, but just pull the focus in the center like this, and then we're done. These photos here are gonna be the similar. Um, like I'll edit in a similar way.
Hmm.
So I don't think it's necessarily like that important to edit all of these. And then everyone can see the photos once it's uploaded. But yeah, I think that's about it for these series. I do also kind of start like I also do these kind of photos where it's like
Mm.
I also believe that like if you're so my way of thinking is like if you only shoot portrait oriented, you're only shooting for Instagram.
Yeah.
But
Oh
then if you
wow.
actually love shooting, you'll also like consider shooting landscape when it's necessary. So that's also important to keep in mind. But then this is from a quote from Her, the movie, and I like adding
Mm.
quotes, and like I think it really is a fun way of using portraits
Hmm.
to tell like more of a story, and words are like a great way of doing so. And um, yeah, I think just a split three, it's always good to have like out of focus, like just the vibe
Yeah.
going on as well. And here you can see these like particles or like flares.
Oh yeah, you
And
can.
these flares can be achieved when shooting, but you know, when you're on the field, you're excited, you have all these things to worry about, and you're on the bout shooting, you don't think about doing everything um, in that moment. So
Hmm.
I have these like PNG files that you can like lay over in Photoshop, and then add it later
Mm-hmm.
to give a different look. So that's a bit of a cheat that you can do. You can even find it on like Google, like lens flare or uh like crystal flare or something, and then try and download the PNG and lay it over on Photoshop. So that's one more aspect that you can do to like kind of change up your, or use more of what you've shot and make something different out of it.
Yeah, I love how you use that photo that's out of focus. I think sometimes we tend to like disregard photos. Oh, that's out of focus. Like, I'm not going to use that. But I like how you were able to pull that into this set and kind of make it like there's still a story behind, you know, those images that even are caught by mistake. Was that intentional or was
Actually,
that
it's
just
intentional.
that's what I was gonna ask? Was it
This
intentional?
too.
There
This
you go.
too is intentional. I know. I had DMs being like, I can't see her face, or like it's out of focus. I was like, okay. It's either I suck, or I mean, it's just like a creative decision that I made that it wasn't for everyone. But yeah, like even this, it's like out of focus and it's like landscape oriented. But this one's in focus, but like, yeah, it's fun to kind of mess around, you know, even it's not always about shooting it one way. Even like this photo is crooked. I like made it so on purpose, and like it's just, yeah, I think it's then you can do like these two split where it's like
this is beautiful.
like crooked in like the different like,
and I even like you said, you're like even if like by technicality it is crooked, I feel like the perspective is so beautiful though. And so sometimes you just have to play around and like not everything has to be semi-straight, not everything has to be done a certain way. You can be intentional and play around and see what you can kind of get and how it adds to the overall feel of your image.
Yeah, I think even I mean, I haven't done it here, but upside down, that might work too. You just have to like kind of think beyond what, even like everything that I've like taught in this like live, you can do the opposite, or like you don't have to even follow any of it, and you can like create something that's as or even better. So yeah, it's not necessarily all about trying to get it aligned, and just sometimes you just got to feel it and let your instinct take control.
But I do like how you said that sometimes when we shoot portraits, we're keeping in mind like where it's gonna go. Like Instagram is usually where our images are gonna live, or on our websites too, but just trying to shoot landscape and how you can get a different perspective. There was one, real quickly, I know we're getting ready to close soon, but there was one other image in that set that I really am intrigued by. Is this a boat that she's on, the kind of with the flowers at top?
Oh, yeah, it was
those
it
look
was
like
like
they're
on a boat,
dreamy.
So this right here, the glow, is from a black mist filter.
Really?
Yeah, so I think that glow is always like, you've never used the black mist filter? Or?
I've not.
No. Oh no, really? It's like,
I haven't. Oh no.
If I was there, I would like buy it for you. Like that's how much like it's gonna change your life.
All right, so I'm gonna make a quick note that after this live, I'm gonna go get myself one of those filters because I love the look of it. Where was that? Where was the shot at?
This was in Chidori Gafuchi, which is like near Tokyo, like the center of Tokyo, where it's like a river, and then you can get on this boat for like $5, and yeah, it's like during the cherry blossom season. And one thing to note for the black mist filters, one other reason besides the blooming effect, that is like if you use it, you get a softer skin tone, so it's really like easy to edit portraits. So it's like a kind of like a cheat code, or like a tool that will help you with your portraits too. So it's a good investment for sure.
Oh no, I definitely need to make my way over because the amount of locations and looks that you have, options, like being over here in Arizona, I have the desert. And don't get me wrong, I can do a lot with it, but I just thank you so much for everything that you've shown us thus far. It's just like
Thank you for having me.
so,
Yeah.
of course, the beauty in locations, the work that you do and how you go about it. I love the point that you made about the landscape images and layering them on top of each other and kind of getting a specific vibe for that. So I think that was incredible. I enjoyed the live. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Kohki, you have been incredible these past 2 days. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank
And
you
make
so much.
sure, of course. And as always, like Sam, who was always on top of it, he's already dropped Kohki's website and Instagram for you. So make sure y'all go ahead and give him a follow on Instagram. Check out his website. Check out those presets, everything that we've talked about. If you missed the live from yesterday, of course, you can go ahead and catch it, give it a watch, and recap on this live as well. And as always, make sure that you stick around for the Illustrator Creative Challenges with Claudie from Print My Soul, immediately followed by day 2 of a branding and identity live stream with Isabel Poirier. So as always, y'all, it has been fun. It's been great. Until next time, thank you.